friend of mine asked me if I could put together quilt pieces that her mother had embroidered. And I had to do some figuring on how I was going to do it. And I actually put the panels together with a lavender sheet. And when I was done assembling them all on a big ping pong table, I gave it back to the lady, and then she had her quilt group at church quilt the quilt. So that was the beginning. That quilt was displayed in the Wilcox Mansion quilt show years ago, and I thought, gee, I'll go down and see that. And I saw all these beautiful quilts there and thought, gee, I think this is something I'd really like to get into.
I was actually doing woodworking as a hobby, but after several cardiac problems, the cardiologist says, I think your days as a woodworker are over. And I knew I had to do something to keep my hands and my mind occupied. So I asked Carol about sewing. What do you think about sewing? And she had a little church project that they were making these little bags or something. And while she was gone to a Bible study, I sewed the bags together for her. And I said, this isn't so bad. I think I could learn. She taught me. And since then, I've taken to it. And except for now in the summertime when I'm busy in the yard, I sew daily. I enjoy it that much. In fact, I've enjoyed quilting more than I have the woodworking. I think there's, it's irrelevant what your media is when you're creating something, be it wood, metal, or fabric. It's the self-satisfaction of creating something that I get.
One piece at a time. You start with the center and you work around on blocks in a log cabin block. And once I got all the blocks finished, I laid it all out on a bed in the other room and took a look at it and said, oh, this needs to go here, this needs to go here, and so forth. And then you have to take it in groups of 2 and sew them together and trim them to be the right size. And then once you've got the 2, then you add the next 2 until you get a very long column. And I have 2 long pieces in the other room finished, and I'm working on the last piece. And when that's done, then all 3 pieces will be put together. Once that's complete and trimmed properly, you get a piece of material we call the backing. It's a complementary color to what your top is. And you lay that on the floor, probably the kitchen floor after I washed it. And then you lay batting on top of it. And then you lay the finished product on top. And then you smooth it all out and pin it throughout. And at that point, that's when you start with your quilting, either decorative stitches or what they call stitching in the ditch, which means stitching right along the line here. And once that's done, then you trim the outside edges, and you get a material such as this for the binding, and you put the pieces all together, fold it in half, and then you sew it on the front or the back if you see fit, turn it over, and hand stitch. I always hand stitch. Some people machine stitch, and that's fine, but I like doing the hand stitching, and then that completes the binding of the quilt.
But the important thing is, right from the very first cutting and the first stitching through the end, you have to be absolutely dead accurate, otherwise your errors accumulate and they build, and where corners should come together, they don't, and it looks a little ragged. But
I find it relaxing, and it's nice to be able to create something and have something that you can look at and say, gee, that really looks nice. I'm glad that I took the time to work it through and finish this. This would be a nice gift for so-and-so.
The quilting creates a sense of togetherness for us as we work on it. It gives us a Christian outlet, and it's also a wonderful giving of yourself of gifts to others. And one of the things I did that I took a great deal of pleasure in, I created a memory quilt for my daughter so that when Dad is gone, she can still wrap herself in it. And we talked about a memory quilt for ourselves that we're going to be working on together. So no matter who predeceases the other, there is a memory quilt. And in the meantime, before one of us does, we will enjoy it by wrapping ourselves together in it. But it gives a nice sense of giving in, and you can create some wonderful memories.